one myth is that a trust makes you due on sale proof, and it doesn't. For an investor purchase, for a non-direct descendant purchase, I'll say, for family planning purposes or estate planning, if it's not one of those, it's not protected by the Garn-St. Germain Act. So a trust does not protect you from due on sale. I've seen it
Okay.
happen. I've seen them accelerate loans that have been placed in trusts. It can and does happen.
I've got dreams, I've got dreams, I've got dreams to find a way out. I've got dreams, I've got dreams.
Today, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, creative financing, specifically subject to, and there are a ton of myths and strong opinions about sub two. Some investors swear by it, others think it's just plain reckless. And Caleb has created a business around making creative deals safe, legal, and ethical. So I'm really interested to hear what he has to say. So let's start by just clearing the air. What is subject to?
Sub 2. I'm going to tell you, every deal is sub 2. We'll get to that in a second, though. What we're talking about is taking over somebody else's mortgage payment. I buy the house, you give me the deed, you leave your loan in place, and I make your payments. Now, let me explain how every deal is a sub 2 deal, because people are like, well, that's crazy. Why would you ever buy it subject to something like that? When a utility company comes and digs up your yard, they can do that, and you can't say squat about it. Why?
Because they own the utilities.
Yes, but the utility has an easement or a right of
They do
way
have
or
an
some
easement.
other thing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when you
Yes.
bought the house, you bought it subject to the easements and rights of way of record. So you bought it subject to something. Somebody else can do something to your property without you having any legal recourse. Well, when we buy sub 2 financially, we're just saying, hey, the existing recorded mortgage that allows them to foreclose if you default, you're buying it subject to that still being there. All the terms and conditions, you're buying it subject to that mortgage. Just like you're buying it subject to the rights of way for the utility company, the easements for people to cross the edge or corner of your property or driveway that goes through, who knows? But you're buying it subject to all of those things. We just add the mortgage to the list.
Okay. So this is where people get scared. And I think this is where there's a lot of false information about subject to. You hear a lot about due on sale clause, all these different things, right? So let's clear up the myths. Which sub two myths do you wish would just die because they're not even an issue and we shouldn't even be talking about it?
I think buying it, that you can just take over payments on somebody else's, it's not even a myth. I think it's just the wrong way to do it. Shoot, I'm trying to think of a myth that I can bust. It's mostly comes down, you can do whatever you want. The problem is you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like you said, I exist as a company. I started a company to make creative finance safe, legal, and ethical because it's too easy for it to not be any one of
Yeah.
those things, either on purpose or on accident.
Okay. So what about this due on sale thing though? Because
Look,
let's clear the air on that.
make sub 2 safe again.
There you go.
I made that hat because people kept asking me for due on sale insurance. The due on sale clause is in every mortgage. By the way, let me just clarify how a mortgage works. You don't get a mortgage from a bank. A lot of people think that. So if you're out there saying, my bank gave me a mortgage, you got it backwards. They give you money, you gave them a mortgage. What a mortgage does, or a deed of trust, you're basically signing a document that says, hey, if I don't pay you back, or if I break any of these other terms, you have the right to foreclose on this property. That's what a mortgage does. So you, when you're doing a sub 2, you've given the bank the right to foreclose on your property. One of the things that's in that mortgage is a due on sale clause. You have signed a legally binding agreement on public record that says, if I transfer the property without your permission, you can accelerate the loan. That means you can call it due. Your next monthly payment's the full payment, baby, not just the $2,000 a month. It's now $600,000 is your next monthly payment and will be paid off. If you can't do that, then we can foreclose for non-payment. That's the due on sale clause.
So what do you do to protect yourself from that? If you happen to get yourself in a situation where you had a subject to property and You shook hands, you're going through we'll talk about the paperwork in a second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's
Um,
lots to it.
what happens if the bank says, hey, this title just transferred names, we want the balloon payment paid, in 30 days. What do you do as the
Uh,
buyer? As the buyer.
yeah, as the buyer, as the person who owns the property now, you probably order a new pair of underwear, and then I would say you call my team because we've fixed it. So I don't want to turn this into a pitch, but I'm telling you there's at least 10 ways to fix it. If you can sell it, you can sell it and just be done with it. If you can refinance it, maybe out of pocket, maybe no cash out of pocket, that's a great option as well. But to me, those are like fallback, worst case scenario options. Because ideally, you got into a sub two deal because you were buying the rate, because you were buying the structure of the deal. You're
Hmm.
buying that outcome. You could have gotten new financing, uh, but you didn't because you may have overpaid. You may have put more cash in up front, something to get that deal. And so it's worth more as it is than if you had to sell it off or refinance it. And so sometimes we can restructure the deal. That could be deeding the property back to the seller, which now we have to ask, do I have a decent relationship with the seller? Can I trust them? Are they
Yeah.
cooperative? Are they available? Are they alive? You can deed back to the seller to absolve the risk of the or to satisfy the bank. And then we can restructure as a lease with an option to purchase, maybe a master lease if you're doing a long-term rental. But what are you doing with the property? Because if you still need the deed or you have other lenders attached to that property, it does complicate things. It usually starts with deeding it back to the seller to get the bank off your backs, but that's not where you want to leave things. You have to have a daisy chain of then we're going to do this and this and this right after. And that's where that's how you restructure the deal. Sometimes it goes unrecorded. Can't always recommend that.
Yeah.
But restructuring, sometimes you place it in a trust. But here's one myth. I think one myth is that a trust makes you due on sale proof, and it doesn't. For an investor purchase, for a non direct descendant purchase, I'll say, for family planning purposes or estate planning, if it's not one of those, it's not protected by the Garn St. Germain Act. So a trust does not protect you from due on sale. I've seen it
Okay.
happen. I've seen them accelerate loans that have been placed in trusts. It can and does happen. Sometimes it's just negotiating with the bank. The smaller the bank, the more likely they are to accelerate the loan because they watch closer and they care more. Then again, you can actually call the bank manager in a small bank and say, hey, you notice how I caught up John Smith's payments? He was 24,000 behind. I brought that to the table and I put the loan back in good standing. Okay. And for the last 8 months, I've been making the payments. You're in good shape because of me. Can we just not do this? Well, we got policies. All right. Your policy is to spend the money to foreclose on a property that's performing. Is that the policy? And so we can have that discussion in a small bank that you can't have at a big bank. That has succeeded once. One time I said, hey, can you guys just not? And they're like, you know what? We're going to leave this alone. But if you miss payments, we're coming back to this. Okay, cool. Fine. Fine by me. But you can't get rid of the risk of due on sale. They have the
Yeah.
legal contractual right to accelerate the loan. And if you don't pay them off, they can foreclose.
That sounds pretty scary. And I'm sure a lot of people that are listening is like,
Yeah,
oh, do I even want to go down that path? Is it even worth it?
that's a good question. I mean, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. It is an incumbent risk when you do this type of deal. Just like when you drive, you're at risk of getting in a crash. Can you put on a seatbelt to reduce risk? Yeah. Meaning, can you structure the deal in a way that's less visible or has better protections for reactive responses to, yeah, you can reduce risk all day, but you can't eliminate it.
Okay. Well, I mean, also can't eliminate a tornado ripping through your neighborhood and taking your home away
Yeah.
either.
But you
So,
can
like,
build a storm
life
shelter.
has risks. You
Yeah.
can. And so let's back up the truck a little bit because I know you've created some businesses to protect people when it
Yeah.
comes to sub two and making these types of deals easier. Um, but how did you even get into this? Let's talk about like why you created these businesses in the first place. What led you to that?
What it's funny lately, I've been thinking about that Batman character. I think it's Bane, the one with like the black little breather mask, and
Yeah,
he's like, you only adopted the darkness, but I was born in it. And I just started a title company, and that's how I'm thinking as I look at other title companies because I came up learning about. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's the beginning of my real estate journey. Like
everyone.
everybody,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
not unique. Went to Bigger Pockets. That's not unique. Then I found Creative Finance Real Estate, and I got into wholesaling specifically to underwrite creative deals and close them because it was interesting to me. And I like helping people. And a lot of times we're helping somebody out of a pretty bad situation. I like
Yeah.
that. So my first deals were creative deals. So I was born into that. And that's when I saw it's pretty easy for people to do each other dirty, either on purpose or without even knowing it, just because they don't understand stuff. And so
Yes.
that's where I created the first company, Creative TC, which is transaction consulting. Hey, I've seen and touched a lot of stuff. Oh, well, that's weird. Let me see and touch yours. Nope, let's not. That's not the tagline. I've seen and touched a lot of creative deals. Let me help you handle yours. And that's what that was all about. Help you make
Okay.
informed decisions. But that also means let's make sure we have the right conversations with the seller because they're leaving their credit on the line. And that's no light matter. And
Yeah.
that
So
needs to be
let's.
discussed.
So as far as your TC business that you created, um, how would that work? Do you basically handle the um conversation between the seller and the buyer and the paperwork and everything in between? You facilitate that so it's understandable on both ends. Is that the value proposition that you're bringing to the table?
Yeah. Now, somebody's going to be our client who gets our primary focus and care, and they're the first ones to be communicated with. But if we find that there's something unethical happening, we're going to give a heads up, but we're going to shut it down.
Okay.
Hey, we're not going to be involved in with this. I'm happy to give your money back, but I'm not letting that guy go into this deal unawares. I'm going to tell him. You can tell him and we can continue, or we can separate and I'll go tell him. But he's not doing this transaction without understanding all the facts. And so we facilitate a lot of that communication. Yeah. But most of the time, people are coming to me with a verbal agreement. We have a contract write ups drive through, right? If you were talking to your neighbor, Keith, and you're like, hey, my neighbor or my friend wants to sell me his house and leave his loan in place, I'm going to give him an extra 20,000. Somebody did this a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, said, hey, I'm going to give this guy an extra $50,000 because he's got a 2% rate. He's my friend. How do I do this right? I want to be protected. I want him protected. We have the general agreement of what was supposed to happen, the outcome. Can you help me structure that? Yeah, let's get on a call. We'll talk it through. And my contract specialist, full time dedicated person, will help you put it on paper. And then you can go take that to escrow. So some people engage that way, and we help a lot with just making sure you understand what you're getting into. A lot of times people will bring me an already signed contract. The seller's already under contract here. But I've never seen somebody sue for specific performance with a seller on a substitute. Like you're going to go to court and a judge is going to say, yes, seller, you have to leave your credit on the line. You're under contract. I don't think that's going to happen. So, they bring me a signed contract, but it's like, yeah, you're mostly agreed, but let's polish things up and make sure that the agreements are solid, that the acknowledgments are there, that the seller can explain in their own words what's going on. And if they can't, let's ask some questions. What are the risks? What questions should you be asking? I want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into and that you're trading something. Your credit stays on the line in exchange for what? Avoiding a foreclosure, getting more cash at close. One of these things is usually happening, if not more, multiple. So there is a value proposition. Let's look at a VA loan. If you just bought a house with a 0% down, you don't have any equity. And if you wanted to
No.
sell, you know, to sell would
Yeah. You're
cost you
upside
10,
down.
20, yeah, maybe up to $50,000 or more. So
Yes.
if you're a veteran, active duty or whatever, and you get new orders right after you bought a house, ouch.
Yeah.
Well, what if Caleb comes and says, hey, not only do you not have to pay $50,000 out of pocket to use a realtor to sell your house, I will give you $10,000. That's not a $10,000 profit. That's a $60,000 profit. You're effectively getting the benefit of $60,000, not paying 50 plus 10 on top. Then I'll take over the property and use it as a rental. Is that a value proposition? It depends on your own situation. Maybe for
Yeah.
some people, nope, I'm not letting anybody else have my credit score. If you don't make payments, it hurts me pretty bad. Not worth it. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the right deal for you. But we want to make sure people understand that. So you're asking what we do. It's those sorts of conversations, that sort of explanation, continued post-close support. We'll handhold you through the whole thing. It's practically a mini mentorship. I just don't want to run a community.
Got it. And so they're paying you to basically be the transaction coordinator for the whole thing from start to finish.
Yeah. And I would say there's a lot of coordinators out there. I'm going to differentiate. Coordination is a base level thing. You're an administrative assistant, which has some value. A consultant is bringing more to the table. It's the active consultative, making sure things are set up right and people understand things. And my philosophy is not to nickel and dime. If you're using me and I've got the docs you need, they're yours. And so we have upgraded templates and documents. I've seen other people's docs. They use them because they're templates that you're supposed to use. I'm
Yeah.
actively editing and versioning these things, and I use an attorney to review them periodically.
So
But
if
there
someone has
there
a
are title
deal,
companies using my documents now. They're like, your docs are better. I use yours.
nice. So if you have a deal, they could just contact your company and you will help them to close this thing
Yeah, so we'll
properly.
help you find the right a creative friendly title company, because if you use the wrong title company, it can blow up the deal too, or closing
Yeah.
attorney. So we'll
Yeah.
help you find one that is good in your state. We maintain a database of those. They come and go. If the escrow officer changes or moves companies, this company's not friendly anymore, so we don't use them. So we
Yeah.
we maintain that. So finding the right company, communicating, bringing the right documents to closing, um, making sure again that it's safe, legal, and ethical, and that you're protected for the long term. A title company's not actually allowed to advise in your situation. So they really are just supposed to follow your instructions and close the deal, which was why when I did my first deals, I was like, who's here to help people not screw each other? I thought the title
Yeah.
company was going to. I thought
Yeah.
they were the authority. Nope, they're supposed to remain an independent, neutral third
Yeah.
party. So, and their job ends at closing. At that point, they're like, "Hey, you signed closing docs. My name's not in it anymore. Go figure it out." And I thought that was really rude, but I get it now that I own a title company. I'm like, okay. I mean, they could have delivered it a little better, but technically, they're not supposed to be meddling anymore.
So let's talk about that, the evolution from you started the TC business, you're helping people do these sub two deals, these creative deals,
Yeah,
and then you saw that, man, these title companies are, they don't know how to handle these sub two deals half the
right.
time. So why don't I just create my own title company? And is it, can we use, like, can someone use that title company in all 50 states, or is it
I'm just in Colorado right now.
just in Colorado? Okay.
Yep.
So for my, what about your TC services
Oh
nationwide?
yeah, nationwide.
Okay. So if you're
We're
listening
yeah.
and you have a sub two deal, you definitely want to get a hold of this guy. And if you're in Colorado, it sounds like you can help him from start to finish.
Oh yeah, the whole kit and
Yeah.
caboodle.
Yeah.
We
Nice.
do a
I
lot with
think,
private lenders as well, who are doing second and third position liens or other private lending.
okay.
Uh,
So anything like that, we can bring you seller financing
yeah, I
deals.
mean, as general as you said the audience was, real estate investors is who I can consult for.
Okay, that's awesome. Um, I think that's really a missing piece because I know I've talked to a lot of investors that were like, "Hey, Keith, I'm interested in doing this sub two deal, but I don't really know what paperwork I need, and maybe the realtor that I'm working with has no clue or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
Why? But I found the seller. I just need to put it together, and I don't know what to do, and I don't want to spend $10,000 to sign up for some course to learn how to do sub two deals.
Yep.
This might be my only sub two deal I ever do.
That's right.
Why?
And the other side was, if you wanted to do that and you found someone, it used to be that you would have to JV and give them 50% or more of the deal, and you lose control of the deal. And a lot of times, what I found in that case was people who were doing that, JVing with others to get the deal done. Two thumbs up because you're getting the deal done, but those people end up being protectionist and they don't provide you access to, like, I JV'd with you so I could learn, not so you could take
Yeah,
60% of the deal and shut me out and only like pay me a lead fee. That's not what I wanted. And so I saw a lot of people disappointed by that. And I just thought, can't we just make this transactional? How about it stays your deal? You pay me to help you do your deal. It's your deal. I don't want the entanglement of JVing. I've learned it didn't look very attractive in the first place. And then when I've done JVs, yuck.
yeah, yeah,
People are messy. It's clean to have separate, just, hey, let's transactional, do this one at a time.
yeah. I love how you created a business around this to help people, and you're making sure that you know both the buyer and the seller are legally protected to the best ability that you
Right.
can do, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
you know, there's a couple of closing attorneys, several in the state of Texas, who are fast and lean and mean, and they can get stuff done with creative deals. They're very competent. I'm reading a closing packet for a client. and it contains a waiver of title insurance. A waiver of title. You got to
Yeah,
sign a
no,
waiver.
bad idea.
What for? I called. This was early in my early days when I was just starting the company, right? As I'm exploring and learning this stuff, because I like to learn anyways. And I'm like, what is this for? They said, well, we don't provide title insurance. Well, what if I want it? We don't provide it. We just close files. So you're telling me, hold on. I know you close dozens of files a month, sub
Yeah,
2 files per month. And you're telling me that none of these have title insurance?
that's scary, man.
Right. And I called a couple of past clients, or new clients who had used them in the past before me. And I said, you know, you don't have title insurance on those 7 deals you bought? What? Yeah, you didn't read the closing packet, did you? What do you mean? This closing attorney, multiple closing attorneys in Texas, they don't provide it. They just close the deal. What do you mean?
Wow.
And so it's looking at that stuff that we bring to the table.
I mean, that's a real service, and I commend you for it. It's crazy how, and I just had this conversation the other day, how in real estate, whether you're, buying rental properties, doing flips or whatever, you often find a hurdle that you yourself have trouble getting over. But oftentimes when you figure it out, it's a business opportunity because you're like, what, everyone's going to hit this hurdle.
Yep. For me, Creative TC is an overarching brand, like a family of companies. The first one is transaction consulting. The next one is title company. The one that is yet to come probably is transaction capital or training company. One or both of those is in the near future, but they all operate under the Creative TC brand.
Well, Caleb, I do appreciate you coming on. If someone wants to structure deals safe and legally, where do they connect with you?
We have free 15-minute consults. I want to be the lighthouse. So it's creativetc.io. You can book a free 15-minute consult. You're welcome to ask my people, is this even a deal? Should I do it? We want to help you make sure that you're getting into a good deal as well.
That's awesome. Everyone out there just listening, if you're doing a creative deal right now and you have questions, you want to contact this man, I'll be sure to put links on this podcast as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Everyone out there, we'll see you next time. God bless.